Hey there, future me. It's currently still just barely a Friday evening, and happy Halloween, right? It's the second audio of October. I guess I don't really think there are any trick-or-treaters around, given that most of the people who live like around are probably like older than me or also grad students. I don't really think like grad students trying to feed grad students is a sustainable, you know, type of cycle with the current state of the world. But yeah, I remember when I was like still maybe I don't even maybe I'd still do this in middle school too. Like on Halloween night, like I would before I try to make sure I'd be asleep before midnight and like I'd check to make sure the doors were locked. I guess like I do that nowadays, right? Because I live alone. But my usually like my dad would do that and I wouldn't really bother. But on Halloween nights, I would be really sure of it because I was always scared of like the headless horseman. Like if we left the door unlocked, the headless horseman would show up and like replace like the whole family's heads with pumpkins. Ah, no, right? So I uh, was pretty spooked about that. But yeah, I guess now it's. Well, hey, who knows? If we leave the door unlocked and we wait like about 2 minutes, maybe we'll become a pumpkin in real time. That would be pretty bad. Anyhow, I gotta make sure I like, keep going with this iteration because if I like bungle this one, I'll have to, start the next recording in November, and we want to have two audios in October. We said we'd have two audios in October, right? Maybe I don't know, I forget. So yeah, it's been like 4 weeks since last audio. Biggest highlight, I guess, being the conference. So yeah, I guess right after I recorded the audio Saturday morning, like that weekend, like Clues swung by in town just to like see me and a few like other of his friends who are also here. Got to meet like one of them, so that was a pretty cool like crossover event. I I tried to be on my best behavior, but it was hard to get a laugh out of her. Like that's always a pretty tough game. Um, Hung out with Step that same weekend for the first time in a bit. Turns out I had like unintentionally caused a bit of like I I did a bad job communicating. It caused some like weird communication thing to where like he thought that like I was trying to like lead him into something or like and I just didn't do a good job like communicating that I was not in on like it was some there was a strange matchmaking attempt. I don't really want to go into it any further. I'm sure you'll vaguely remember or it's not too important now. Um, Yeah, so that happened, and then like I guess the next week was just like kind of like building up for the conference, right? Like Prof like dipped out of town. We like got all of our edits in. Like we were still, at, I was trying to print the poster out by Tuesday before he like was out of town, but we ended up printing it out like Friday afternoon, right before like the poster like printer place like closed down. So not even close. We'll take it. We got all of our things in. Um, and then like we traveled to the conference place like on the weekend. And the conference actually happened. And the conference was. I was actually, if I were better with these things, I would have actually recorded an audio like as soon as I got back from the conference to record down like all of my like immediate thoughts. But I was a bit late to the punch as usual. But the conference was rather it was good, right? Like I got to meet like some like pros former students, like the guy who like whose office space like I took over. I was like, hey, I know that name. Some of like his like former students, like even like or former student, like his even older former students. um, that was like pretty cool just to see like what they're doing now. Like a lot of them are, I guess, well, the guys whose office space I took over is now just like a postdoc, and like the older guys like now just like working at like NASA, but like with the current situation and all that, he's currently not being paid. Or is he? I think I. It's a weird one. A lot of people weren't able to make the conference because like they're government. I forget what the term is. Like public servants, right? And so like they don't really have like the liquidity, I guess, to like move around, or it's ill advised, because we don't know when like all this stuff is gonna end. Anyhow, let's let's not get too crazy with it here. Um, but yeah, like that's the main thing of the conference was just to try to like go, put the poster out, like little poster area, right, and hang around, but also like attend a bunch of talks. And I guess as expected in some ways, a lot of the talks were over my head. I feel like it was a gathering of like people like from outside of the subfield. Like it's all like vaguely high energy, but it's like still, like there's all sorts of people studying all sorts of systems, and I think there's a lot more observers than theorists, and so I think a lot of the talks are like observer geared, in a way to where it's like we looked at this very specific system, and then we did all this like data analysis, and because like we're observers and we're just like better, I guess like we can obviously conclude that like this is so and so, and this is important because this is something that we haven't seen before, right? And that's all. I don't know. I guess like Prof was telling me that like this field is like it's like heavily dominated by like a lot of observers and a lot of instrumentation people, right? Like seeing stuff or building the things to go see stuff, which makes sense because like that's at this point we're just trying to get like more vision on things, but still more. I don't know. I guess like I have yet to fully appreciate it either because like maybe my heart's just not there, or I just like lack the technological, or like I like the not the technological. I lack the technical capabilities to really like appreciate the work in full. I think the few talks that I did appreciate were like ones like on the simulation front, right? It's like okay, we see something, we're gonna try to model it, and then like we got all the different ways you can simulate a fluid, right? Or like so and so, and yeah, but yeah, it was pretty cool to go out there. I don't think like the I guess my poster didn't really get that much attention, which was kind of like a bit of a bummer, I guess. I feel like a lot of the posters were once again like very like more experiments or like non-theory oriented, and so I was just kind of like sitting there, and a lot of people were just kind of looking over and seeing like, oh, cool simulations, and probably just like walking by because it's the classic of like, okay, well you made a model, but can your model actually fit data? And it's like, well, we haven't gotten there yet, so why should I care then? Uh, uh, I'm trying my best. I don't know. Like, so it's yeah. I guess like that's a lot of things to think about. In some ways, like I do wonder, like, as to what this means, like in the longer run, right? Like, do I want to stay in this field? Like, maybe that's not super important right now, but it was like food for thought, right? Like the other theorists who I got to like talk to and stuff, like they were all very keen on like, well, we gotta fight the good fight anyways, because like if we make cool results, we can encourage people to go, build instruments to look at these specific wavelengths or to have this specific resolution, because like otherwise like they would be prioritizing other things, which totally makes sense. It's just kind of I guess I just wish that I saw like a bit more. I wish there were more people who were similar to me, but this is kind of like a a reoccurring theme, like on many fronts, right? And like the ongoing saga of being me, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, but I think all in all, it was a pretty good experience. I guess I also, yeah, I wish I. It was hard to stay awake in some of those talks. I think there was like I think yeah, every single day, like on all the days that like the conference happened, like I dozed off in at least like one of the sessions, if not like more than one, which is pretty not great, right? I'm kind of wasting like profs like funding, or I guess like his like travel like I'm wasting his funding, which is kind of bad. Speaking of, I probably got to get to that sooner or later. Get all my like receipts in and all that stuff reimbursed. But yeah, I don't know. Like conference happened, it's pretty cool. I don't really think like my poster existed. I don't. It was not the talk of the town. In fact, it was probably like the opposite. It was just like one of many, which is kind of mm, certainly something to think about, given that like we're now technically considered like a senior graduate student because we're in year four, and graduation is closer than like matriculation. So yeah, I guess it's time to either step up or step out, step up or get out. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I got back from the conference. Was pretty like the week afterwards was just kind of like not really doing much. Like it was pretty weird because like I think all I really did like that week was like maybe play like a little bit of Counter Strike, and beyond that it was just existing. Like I don't even think like I played like many video games, which is like, but at that point like what the hell are you doing? You're just like sitting around on your hands, just like wandering a little aimlessly. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's like a sign of like the wear kind of like kicking in, like delayed wear, right? I was kind of like saving it all up, like or I was trying to maintain my composition throughout the conference, and then once the conference was over, I just like crashed. Who knows? But yeah, now we're just kind of getting back on the ball. Like prof's been out of town for like you guessed it, other conferences, and so I had to, or well, I got to right. He kind of asked me if I wanted to tag in to give lectures to like the undergrad kiddos on like general astro stuff, and so I did. Showed up, talked about like I don't know, like the sun. That was pretty cool. Um, and then I guess I had all my committee meetings too, and or like the annual like advisory committee thing, right? Like the are you how do you feel about your work? My prof making a little write up saying like Green has done good work or he's been horrible. This guy sucks. But no, like the press report, from what I can tell, I don't get to see it, of course, right? Was positive, so I didn't get like cooked as hard as I did like 2 years ago when like I was having a much I was having a far worse time, I guess, just in general. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I guess like the people who I talked to were telling me about how like now is the time to really really think about things. The old guy was telling me about how like I got to think about if I want to go into academia, I also need to be okay with settling, which is totally yeah, makes sense, right? Like that's the realistic option. He gave me a statistic which was pretty spooky. Like I knew it was pretty bad, but like I guess like man, 3%, of like people, like qualified people getting like positions. Yeah, like that's, um, yeah, that's certainly something to think about, right? Like less than 1 in 30, or like about, yeah, well, 1 in 33 qualified people. And so I assume that like in order to be that like 1 out of 33 people, you need to have a combination of luck and skill. And well, something's happening outside. But like yeah, I don't think I have either. You know, that mix of either luck or skill. But we just got to get there, right? And I don't know. I feel like I also might be thinking about it too hard. Like the other, but like the young professor lady, like who I like the other one, right? The other committee member, she was telling me about how like at this point in time, it doesn't really. The future, of course, is important, but I'm still in my fourth year, so I should just like keep my head down and like just focus on like shooting as hard as I can, pretty much, right? Like doing as much as I can because, bro, what is happening? People must have been going crazy this Halloween. Like, yeah, just do as well as you can, and like I guess like leave it all on the field in some ways, right? Don't really. If you think too hard, you're merely going to decrease your own output, and that will make your chances of success like in either academia or outside of academia like decrease, right? So just focus on getting things done, picking up skills, and like doing like visible work in a way. Um, then I like met with prof, over online and stuff, and we just kind of like talked about like, well, seems to be going along well, and he kind of was telling me about how it's not like a hard it's not confirmed, I suppose, but like given the current state of affairs, right, if things kind of keep going like this, or if like the direction, like if the current direction of science funding and stuff doesn't change, he might want me out in like 5.5 or even 5, which is kind of like spooky to think about. Like, I guess that means like if I were to be out in like 5.5, right, then that means that like at the end of this semester, that would be like my 2 year mark, whereas like my 2 year mark would be I guess regularly, quote unquote, like in the when the spring ends. So that's just like fewer time to like catch up, I guess, and like go do more things. So that's yeah, that's certainly something to on the mind at the moment, right? I got this news like what like Wednesday, and I don't think it was like it wasn't like one of those like this is definitely going to happen, right? He didn't like give me a date because he himself was also uncertain, but it's like still I don't know, right? It's kind of like the you don't really leave when you can, or like you don't really leave when you want to. You leave when like you just you're there's like a bit more of a timer on it, I guess. Like the idea, like the option, I guess, of being able to stay like the full 6 years, and like even if I actually get all this stuff done in like 5.5, right? Then then I'll have I guess like that extra semester, right, to go like look for jobs. I guess like Retro is doing right now. But I might not have that luxury, and so things might be a little bit uneasy. Yeah, but I guess like yeah, this past like set of 3 weeks, like the conference into like all these committee meetings. Hey, that's alliteration. Yeah, that's a good title. Who knows? Has been it's given me not necessarily something to look forward to, but a bit of a glimpse, I guess, into the what the future could be like. Right? I got to meet like profs like former students. I got to meet like the colleagues of these former students. I got to meet like collaborators. Like or like other senior researchers. Right? And I got to see people from like the various walks. There were also a lot of grad students there, and it was kind of hard to I should have done a better job like going out and talking to him. I remember like Step telling me like you got to make sure Green. It's good to don't just be like shut in and just travel with your group. Like go make individual conversations with people. But it just like it was hard to or it seemed intimidating to go converse with them like whenever their work is like far different than mine, and I also don't really I can't really make too many comments, I guess, like as to what on their work, just because I don't know that much about like I don't know. I probably just like psych myself out. Like the conversations I did have with people were all just like small talk. It's like, hey, fellow grad student, like, well, what's it like being from like so and so? Like, just kind of like yeah. We talked about video games or like hobbies or things that you do like outside of like being a grad student, which is the classic joke of like, well, imagine having time for that, right? But yeah, it was all right, but I don't really think I got like too many crazy. I feel like I could have done a better job, so I guess that's something to keep in mind whenever like the next conference rolls around. And I guess like the next conference will be like when I hope that by the time the next conference rolls around, like I'll actually have something, right? Or well, like not just like a poster, but also maybe like a paper on the way, right? And I can give like a presentation instead of a poster, and then say like, hey guys, the paper is coming out soon if you want to like give it a look, and maybe it'll be in a crowd that's like a bit more. Or either I will have something that like a wider audience can appreciate, or I will be in an audience that will appreciate my work a little bit more, or like my yeah, or like maybe my work will have gotten to a point to where it can be like appreciated by a wider I hope things will be I hope that things will be different in the better direction. Crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Like but even then, right? Like that's still well once again like when does it happen? Um and I think like this is a question that I keep asking, but I don't think it's a question that I should be asking because like it's hard to perceive you don't just wake up one day and like come up with a solution, right? It's like a gradual process, it's adiabatic evolution, right? Like it doesn't just like happen overnight. Um, and I think like I'm still like quite in my head, I guess. I simultaneously feel like I have time and also don't have time. I have time in the sense that like if I'm tired, like I know not to like overexhaust myself, right? Not to wear myself like out too much. But at the same time, like whenever you lay in bed and you're about to go to sleep, that's kind of when like it all hits, right? Like you're old now, um, time's going by pretty fast. Like there's so many things that you want to do, academic and outside of academic, and you just gotta stick to it. But then, as much as you say that you want to go do these things, like whenever you wake up the next day, you don't really end up like checking off all the bases or like all the bases that like you want to be checking all the bases. No, it's like I just don't get as much done as I feel like I should, right? Like it's strange because I feel like whenever I look at my like peers, right? Step, Scout, Calm, right? A lot of the other aces, right? Like it feels like they seem to be rather satisfied with their progress, or they seem to be like overwhelmed with work, like on the academic front, whereas I'm like, uh, I don't know, maybe I just have to be applying myself harder, and it's just you want to go do things, don't you? Yeah, of course, but I guess it's just hard to somehow. Um, I guess the greater purpose of it, I guess, is not. It's a bit harder to see, right? But I don't really know if that's just like an excuse, right? Claiming that like the lack of I guess other people seeing what you do, or I guess seeing your character, um, is discouraging. And so, as much as you want to do things for like your own sake, it's rather difficult to it. I don't know. Like I guess like I feel like I would be more motivated if like other people were there to behold what I create. But I don't really think that's something that I can expect from other people just because like like who am I supposed to expect this from, right? I don't think it's a reasonable ask. Um, and so it's something that I just have to come to terms with. But it probably takes time to come to terms with things, right? And so then, do I really have that time? And then all of so on and so on. It's just we just have to become stronger, right? We just have to go do more things, be more consistent, and just like hack away at things. I've certainly, I guess, during the conversation, like the technically committee meeting convo with Prof, right? I was asking him like, am I botting out? Am I like not capable? And he was like, no, Green, like you're certainly capable, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you like actually fumbled like super hard, if you were just like not there, if the light wasn't on, like I would have just told you to dip out like some while, well, not that. What was it like? I asked him if I like gave it like my damnedest, right, over like the next like 2 or 1.5 or whatever years, right, to when I graduate, like, do I actually have like a sensible chance at like making it? And he said like, yeah, because like I have the tools, right? So that's always good to hear, but um, that's only an assessment of potential, right? In order to actually get there, you have to, well, one, realize your potential, and two, like be sufficiently fortunate in the whole state of the world. But I don't know. Like we just gotta do more things, right? And but I keep saying this. So when will I actually go do more things? I don't know. Um, yeah, I guess that's all I really got for now. Maybe next time I'll have a different chain of stories to talk about. But for now, I guess it's just a game of keeping my head down and hacking away at things because it doesn't really do much, I guess, to think too hard about the future when so much of it is out of my control. All right, future me. I'll see you next time. Later.